Okay, number 4 says graph the system of inequalities. So our name is graph system of inequality. Our description is graph both, shade the section that satisfies both inequalities. Now, some things to remember beforehand here is with inequalities, we have to remember solid and dotted lines. So it's a solid line if my inequality is either less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. It's a dotted or dashed line if it's just less than or greater than. Then we have to be concerned to remember about shading above. And we shade above if it's greater than or equal to. And we shade below if it's less than or equal to. So with that information in mind, if I go look at these two, I got y is greater than 3x minus 4 and y is less than or equal to negative 2x plus 1. So again, they're in slope-intercept form because the y's are by itself, so that helps me, because if they're in slope-intercept form, then again I can identify M and B quickly. And when we graph these, we start at B. So on the first inequality, I'm going to start at negative 4 on the y-axis. Now M is 3, or 3 over 1. So from that negative 4, I would go up 3 over 1. Again, since it's just a greater than sign, that tells me it's going to be a dotted or dashed line. My second inequality is y is less than or equal to negative 2x plus 1. So negative 2 is my slope and positive 1 is my y-intercept. So that means I'm going to start at 1. And since my slope is negative 2, I'm going to go down 2 and then to the right 1, which happens to be the same point as the other line, which is okay. Since it's less than or equal to, it's going to be a solid line. Now, when we shade the section that satisfies both inequalities, again, we basically have divided this graph into 4 different sections. So what I like to do is go through and take one inequality or one line at a time and mark it with a check or an X, a check if it satisfies it, an X if it doesn't. So my first inequality was greater than, so I'm looking about above that line. So my first inequality was my dotted line, so I want to mark the sections above that dotted line with a check. So above that dotted line, this area would be okay, and this area would be okay. This section's below the dotted, so it doesn't work, and this section's below the dotted, so it doesn't work. Now I'm going to look at my second inequality. So it was less than or equal to, so we're dealing with shading below. Now I don't need to check the sections that have an X on it, because again, for it to satisfy both inequalities, it needs to have 2 checks. So I'm looking at these 2 sections, and again, I need for it to be below the solid line. So this here is not below the solid, but this one is. So again, the section that has the 2 check marks is the area that we would shade.